So I finished Unbeatable.
Mic check.
I want to preface this with a please bear with me. I might get choked up at some points in my narration when explaining my playthrough. Well, no, my experience with this game. I very well could dissect the shit out of every little thing, but I'm going to try and stick with just my raw emotion and experience. The events that really stuck out to me. During Gamescom of 2025, the announcement trailer popped up, and I had never heard of Unbeatable, or anybody online talking about it, or anybody talking about how hyped they were for it since playing the white label demo. A demo which I didn't play until deciding to make this very episode. It's a nice bite-sized piece. You should go play it if you're interested at all. It actually does give some background of Beat's character that's not in the full version. But seeing the trailer for Unbeatable was certainly eye-catching, thanks to that grind fiction art style, character design, and the 2D with 3D environments you don't really see anymore since probably the 2000s. So I put it on my wish list and put it in the back of my mind until it was released in December. Now December went by and it was already getting great reviews, so I decided to buy it and put it on my fat ass backlog, heaven forbid. Then 2026 comes along, I play Nukitashi, then Resident Evil Requiem. That's definitely an upcoming episode, so stay tuned. And finally, on a boring day scrolling through my Steam games, I take another look at Unbeatable. And I notice reviews are saying it's more than meets the eye, and emotionally broke them. Okay, well, what the hell, I haven't played a rhythm game in a while, I'll give it the college try. And here's the thing, I play it on Linux Mint, and the game just breaks, like it's bonkers. You almost have to see it to believe it. The first cutscene and the highway chase, the highway chase itself does not load the cops, to where it's like Beat and Quaver are just like on the highway with nothing. They're like running away from nothing. It's the weirdest thing. So I reinstall it on Windows, and now I can finally play. And another thing I didn't figure out until my second playthrough was you just have to use Proton 9 and it plays just fine. Some little info for my Linux brothers and sisters. Anyway, I was met with one of the most thought-provoking and personalized openings for a video game I had experienced. It opens with a CRT in front saying, "Have you played a rhythm game before? Are you good at them?" Yeah, I can handle them okay. I love rhythm games since I did play Mustache, DJ Max, Respect, Rock Band, Cloned Hero, the like, from when I was a childhood up until now. Well, pretty good nothing. Try to keep on time. Later saying, "Hesitation is a good thing, but don't be afraid to put your foot on the gas when you know you can." This is not a love story, but if you think about it, most stories are. The good ones anyway. You know what I mean? And I reply, "I think I know what you mean." This love stories are all stories was a shower thought I had way back when, and it really took me off guard. Such a specific and personal thought would actually show up in a rhythm game of all things. And the CRT says goodbye, just breathe, and the beat fades into the opening scene of Eve. For the sake of this episode, I did a second playthrough and noticed that when Eve looks at herself and says, "That's Eve," I can't help but wonder if that's a nod back to the white label demo, where Beat explains when she looks into a mirror, she's aware that there's a version of her she knows, and then there's everyone else's version of her. It's like Eve was grounding herself in who she believes that she is. And the opening cutscene when Eve gets to the stage, sings Bookend, was kind of what I will refer to from here on as a realization moment. This one being that the OST is something to remember. Now, what kept me playing for the next 5 hours from episode 1 to 3 was just listening to the characters and really wanting to know more about this no music world. Even the dialogue options for Beat and the inventory menu have their own characters. They're not so much a script, but what Beat would definitely say in the conversation and her inner thoughts. For characters, I think Quaver has to be my favorite, which is actually insane because really nobody likes child characters because while they're typecasted as annoying in some way or another. So Quaver being who she is already such an accomplishment, I believe. I wanted to talk to every NPC, which even when I'm playing an RPG, it's very rare for me to do that. Dialogue is serious and philosophical when it's needed to be, and awkward and human when it can. It's never overdone, or dare I say, cringy. The one gripe I do have is that everyone just uses shit for profanity and almost nothing else. It almost made me hate the word when playing. I mean, come on, just stick to... Just pick some different word or just don't swear at all, is what I say. And I'm actually surprised that no one has brought up this point. I feel like insane that I'm the only person doing so. But anyway. Unbeatable does use speech bubbles for its dialogue, like a manga or comic, and more often than not, they will overlap with each other, whether it be intended or not. What I mean is people will talk over each other, and it's obviously intended for the bubbles to overlap, but other times it feels like it just happens out of nowhere, and you miss out on certain words or deliveries, which can be annoying. But I still don't know if that's a bug or if all the bubbles overlapping are intended. I don't know. But because of the art style, I wanted to explore as much as I could and just see how everything looked. Probably part of it's due to the VHS filter, which I did use in my first playthrough. Even turning it off for my second playthrough, Unbeatable still looked super cool and super good. The filter, I'm assuming, is the intended experience, being reminiscent to the old anime on VHS, coinciding with the episodic structure, which really did take me by surprise. Also, playing the game on New Year's Eve going into New Year's Day in one sitting also being intended. I'm not joking. That's what it says when picking the hard difficulty. I actually want to add that doing all of the side quests, taking photos with Quaver, exploring everything should also be part of the intended experience. Those acoustic strumming sections are on episode 3, and I think episode 2 was just something else, man. And speaking of which, here was my second realization moment. The lighthouse scene where Quaver explains to Beat, all sausage no make, Quaver's mom, which is also Eve, never letting fans know the secret, the magic to her music production. The camera panning over the beachside town and looking at Beat and Quaver, and then showing the game's logo next to the lighthouse just had me think, this is not necessarily a video game I'm playing anymore. I am experiencing art. Human art. Unbeatable is, I'd say, 80% exploring and talking, and 20% playing a song that goes with an event, a minigame, or just fighting a cop. But that never felt too separate, which actually was intended apparently, according to RJ Lake. And you can find his explanation on some other interesting question and answers on unbeatablegame.com in the Q&A section. But the rhythm sections are something so unique that I can't really give much of a comparison to other games. Along with combining different views, like going from side-scrolling to top-down to over-the-shoulder, the game really likes to keep you on your toes and make you concentrate, like it's saying, don't forget, this is a rhythm game. It almost makes Unbeatable have a different kind of difficulty besides keeping the beat. There really should be more adventure rhythm games. They do seem to blend surprisingly well. My one complaint about these rhythm sections is they can just transition awkwardly from cutscenes, and the control sometimes feels clunky. But that's another critique that the developers shouldn't really take to heart, like the speech bubbles being overlapped. This jankiness is what makes the game as a whole have character, and some of these things shouldn't be fixed. There's a conversation with Beat and Treble on a rooftop in episode 4 that makes this all pretty damn ironic. Treble isn't happy with the remix that Beat and Penny have been making in a separate studio with the rest of the band regarding their upcoming album. Penny being an info broker side character during episode 2 at a prison, also where Treble and Clef are introduced, Which, by the way, the prison break sequence being easily second most hype moment in the game. I was like a little kid watching an action cartoon on Saturday morning. It was awesome. But anyway, Trouble explains the new mix is missing soul that the original mix had, but also not wanting to come off as a purist. The new mix is too clean and some messiness can actually be good. If you're restoring a painting, don't scrape off the paint alongside the dirt. Or in other words, don't throw out the baby with the bathwater. The band, Unbeatable, makes their painting, their music, with dirt. This is something that the game industry struggles with, and likely one of the reasons why indies are so beloved over many AAA companies today. This conversation can definitely go down a rabbit hole, open a can of worms, whatever metaphor may have you, but I just appreciate this shit so much for exploring this topic a little bit. And since I'm mentioning Trouble's character, I have to say, and embarrassed to say, that I didn't realize the YouTuber Noodle was the voice actor until the credits for episode 2 when he was introduced. I don't think I'll ever forgive myself for that. Now, another amazing dialogue sequence that I want to bring up that actually does have some gameplay to it is Clef and Beat at the batting range in episode 3. In this moment, Clef is wanting to form a band with Beat, that band being Unbeatable. Instead of explaining, I really want to just narrate some of what Clef said here. It goes as this. So, look, me and Treb have been at this on our own forever. This shit, it's in us, in a way that you don't get out of you. You can't get it out of you, even if you wanted to. And of course, you don't want to. That would be insane. Because if we're being honest with ourselves, music is like, it's the closest thing we can get to there being proof God exists. I know you know what I'm talking about. End quote. Now, whoever chose the song for this part is just genius. And I'm not gonna lie, on my first playthrough, I was just in awe, and on the second, I almost cried. It didn't really hit close to home, it hit right at it. This is clearly a game made for musicians, by musicians, and if anywhere, it shows right here. I don't think you'll fully understand if you aren't a musician. The final dialogue sequence I really want to talk about here goes back to Penny doing the remixes with Beat. Penny asks and retorts, why do we make things? Why do we feel like it? We can't sell this and we don't get anything besides the thing itself. It's all art, all expression. There has to be something viewable, something concrete. And ultimately, Beat states, I think I end up making things so I'm not mad at myself. This kind of goes back to the CRT setup and opening that threw me for a loop. Yet another way of philosophy that I was not expecting a rhythm game to try and explore. This dialogue doesn't really end. Beat just moves on and wants to hear the remixes in the studio, pushing Penny's questions to the side. Which is just unfortunate because they could have probably explored this a little bit more, but again, another kind of pacing issue, but it's okay. It's okay. I do want to cap off this dialogue chapter with some interesting quotes that work just as well out of context. Such as, you can't stop them from reading you, but don't let them write new pages. People assume when you say a lot of words, you're saying a lot of things, but you're saying nothing at all. You can't just sing the moments in the music. You have to let the moments sing for you. You have to be important to be scary. If my dreams are unrealistic, I want to change reality. Definitely tattoo-worthy stuff. What makes the game's whole OST special is the live sound, thanks to Clara Maddox, and the indie vibe thanks to RJ Lake and Peak Divide. You could download their music off YouTube, but hell no, please go support them. You can buy the OST and the album containing the vocal tracks on Bandcamp right now. Easily one of my favorite pieces of music in general, not just for video games. I do also want to mention that the ambient tracks really remind me of Yume Nikki of all things. There's just plenty of quiet, abandoned location kind of songs. but go hard. And every track that had its place for the setting felt on point. I can confidently say that because when listening to the OST, I know where Beat is supposed to be or who she's talking to. The list for some of my favorites, if you want to know, my favorites are Mic Check, Shut Up Until I'm Done, The Adventures of Clef the Great, Drastic Hammer, and Homework Soup. The Unbeatable album is definitely in a league of its own and serves its own purpose. If you don't have any interest in playing Unbeatable, then please buy and listen to the album containing the vocal tracks. Track 9, No Signal, being hands down my favorite track. A certain YouTube comment I saw couldn't have said it better than myself. This was, I think, the moment where the game just came flooding and hit me. Way back when made me smile, but No Signal made me remember and realize it was over. End quote. I will never forget myself breaking down in my chair. I was just bottling up everything from beginning to end until I heard this song in the scrolling credits. It's what most would call a good cry. That Danny DeVito crying and clapping meme was basically how I felt. And also, now that I'm remembering, the scrolling credits and the reviews and all the quotes on the left side was just like not helping me feel any better. It was just all a whole blow up. I'm not really sure how to end this one off in a nice bow to summarize everything, but I do have a couple of things I wanted to still mention before closing. And this is where some of the spoilers will come in. The pacing honestly could have used some work, like I mentioned before, and Beat seemed to just slide right into Quaver's world quickly with no initial explanation or questioning. The game could have used probably one more episode or just extend the existing ones. There should have been some more exploration or interactivity, and personally, I think the band Unbeatable getting to know each other more would have been a lot more interesting to see how the chemistry was further made. Everything just goes from one thing to another with not a lot of breathing room, especially if you're not doing the existing side activities. Again, why I recommend doing them in a first go. Quaver having the emotional baggage of not knowing her mother, Eve, that well, and just not mentioning her father at all is a little questionable. Even when there is picture evidence she knows she had one, it's probably just to help the chemistry between Quaver and Beat not having mothers, but still. Penny revealed to be Sword Sando was actually pretty dope, and I did not see that one coming. It's definitely viewable in a second playthrough, and weirdly enough, she reminds me of Kefka from Final Fantasy VI because of just how unhinged she kind of acts during her character reveal. And regarding the theory of is Beat in a coma world, or was that other no music world actually something that exists? It's all fun, but I like to think Quaver's world was real, and being isekai'd just so happened to be what Beat needed for her life by some divine grace or what have you. But yeah, I think I got everything out of me. And listen, if you stayed this long, seriously, thank you. I haven't really talked about Unbeatable to really anybody, and know nobody personally that has finished it. This was definitely an episode for my sake, I'll admit. Unbeatable and Nakey Jakey were the two inspirations for me to start this podcast in the first place, and to try making something I cared about, to leave some kind of mark I'm proud of, to try and make something for myself and see if it can reach some people too. And to anybody at DSL that is watching, thank you. Thank you so much for what you made. Thank you so much. This is probably my third favorite game of all time. It's been kind of flipping. Okay, it's been kind of flipping through like number 5 to number 4, and now it's like in number 3, and it's only probably a matter of time until it's like number 2. but I'll put it in 3rd place for now, and it's the most sincere video game I have ever played so far. If I want to play the one-word description game, I would say sincere. Unbeatable is now just a part of my life, and I won't get rid of it. I can't get rid of it. Stay spicy, everyone. Go make something. Listen to music. God's sake, listen to some good music. It's pretty fucking awesome. And also, I forgot to mention in the last episode, but if you have any recommendations that you would want me to play and finish and give for the next episode, then please leave it in the comment below on either YouTube or Spotify. That is where So I Finished is at. But yeah, thank you so much for watching.